So Claudia, just to
And
touch
just to go from what you said there, Claude. Oh, sorry, Justin. Go ahead. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
no,
Justin.
no, no. I think it's just another question. I'm just going to ask based on that. Um, we've all touched on the aspect of relationships, but for those people who perhaps feel that I can't talk to anyone, I don't trust anyone. How do we start that conversation? Because if people aren't willing to talk, if people in the churches they feel that they can't help them with these things, how can they resolve this? Because for as long as people are feeling this way, they'll still be feeling that, oh no, I've got people in the church are terrible, they hate me, they do this and that. I'd say from a personal experience, I know that with our pastor, big Pastor Daly, we love you. Like people can have their opinion of him or whatever, but our pastor is very, very open if you approach him. But the thing is, because people don't want to approach him, there's so many preconceived notions and ideas about him. And I feel that with a lot of people in their churches, they may feel like that with their pastor. Perhaps they feel that there's a distance. But I would say on a personal level, if I felt that, okay, there's an issue where I really need to approach my pastor about, I trust and I believe that I would be able to go to him, talk to him, and not feel condemnation. I feel that he'd be able to have a conversation with me and we could perhaps work on something. But I feel with a lot of people, they feel this distance and separation from their pastors or from perhaps their leaders. How do we tackle that? With yourself, I know you have the discipleship thing that you do, but I believe you very much had to go out and get them. But is there a way to try and do that in reverse? Is there a way that perhaps we can try and get people to come to us rather than us going to them? Or do you feel the onus has to be on us going to them?
I think, first of all, primarily the onus has to be on us to produce other people who think in the same way as us. Yeah. I'm going to just say this and then I'll be naughty and then I'll pass over to Antonia. But Pastor, why, gosh, Lord, please be good, Claudia. But let me say this, right? You can carry your own Bible, and you can sit in any seat, and be good, right? I'm trying to phrase this well. Pastor, you can carry your own Bible, you can sit in any seat, and you can eat anything. You don't have to get special everything because of who you are. When I've seen places where I heard a story of someone I was discipling and they walked past the pastor's Bible and this man went off at her. How can you walk in front of my Bible? Do you know? No. And I wasn't brought up in church like this, so I was just like, what? He said, what? Like, So I think, leaders need to the platform, as in come off the platform. Unless you're preaching, come off the platform. You are a normal human being and people need to see that side of you rather than just the man of God side of you or woman of God side of you. Just you're a normal person. Mm-hmm. And when you do these strange rituals, which for me, I just don't care about. I hate them so much. I hate all of them. All of them need to go. When you do that kind of thing, don't be surprised that people won't come talk to you about actual real things because they think that you're superhuman, which you're not. So can we not stop doing all of that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Antonia.
I love what Claudia just said. Honestly, I love it. I love it.
Claudia.
Another thing, just touching on to exactly what Claudia said, is that, listen, there needs to be transparency in church. We've got too many holier than thou people. I'm just going to be honest. I'm sorry, but in this episode, I'm going to be that person. We've got too much holier than thou people sitting in church. We've got too many people sitting in whether it's the board of deacons, elders, even on the pastoral board, who will make others feel like since the day they were born, they have never sinned a day in their life. Mm-hmm. We've got too many people that are ready to cast judgment. They're waiting for someone to slip up so they can cast judgment. And if we carry on like this, there's no way anyone is going to feel comfortable to come and approach us. Okay. For example, now, obviously everyone's different. Everyone's grown up different ways. Some people are taught to, really hide the sin and bury under one tree and forget about it. But for example, if you know that someone is, let's say, okay, I won't pick a gender, but let's say someone is sleeping about, okay? Someone's sleeping about in church and you used to sleep about but you're delivered from that. It's not going to harm you to go to that person, you know, and be like, I know you're doing A, B, C, and D, and not in a judgmental way, but I just want to let you know that I've been there, I've gone through that. This is how it's affected me. This is the means that I used to get out of it. I know that it may not work for you, but it's just to let you know that I'm here if you need someone to talk to you, if you need someone to take you through deliverance, if you need someone to guide you. Yeah. But when we see people sleeping about in church, we're ready to cast judgment, but we don't know why they're going through that. It might be a generational curse. It might be a case that they've been abused when they were younger and it's come up to them. It might be that's the way they deal with the frustrations and the pains. People go through different things for different reasons. We get people who are still in church and they smoke, they drink, they gamble, and it's not because, oh, it's a dirty habit, or it's because they just want to do it, but it's resonating from something else that's going on in their life. But if we're just here and be like, oh, so-and-so smokes, can you imagine? Oh, so-and-so's son drinks, can you imagine what a bad mom she is? Yeah. I don't understand who this is meant to help. I don't understand who's meant to grow from this. And I don't understand why you expect that person to stay in your church. I'm very sorry. And obviously, I'm not saying the onus is on the church, but it's a bit like, if Moses can't go to the mountain, then the mountain needs to come down to Moses. In church, we need to be transparent because we're all coming from different walks of life. We're all coming from different stories, and that's the beauty. As I said before, the church is like a mixing pot. Everyone has gone through something that they can help someone else go through as well. But if everyone is just sitting down, acting as if they're not seeing anything, or acting as if they're deaf, they're not hearing anything, then I don't understand how the church will grow. I don't understand how you expect someone to open up to you, especially if it's something that's really private to them, because you've got people who are really struggling with things, but they feel so ashamed to speak up because they're thinking, oh, they're going to judge me, or they're going to cast me aside, or they're going to make stories about me. Do you know what I mean? So people need to be able to see that the church as a whole is somewhere where I can come in and I can open up. The church is somewhere where I can go in and I can tell Sister Claudia that, you know what, this week I really struggled. I drank a whole bottle of vodka on Monday. And Sister Claudia is not going to sit there and start condemning me and whatnot. You know, the church is somewhere where you can go and be like, you know what, I'm actually having an affair right now. And Brother Jonathan's not going to be there and start shouting at me and whatnot. Obviously, he's not going to condone my sin. I'm not saying condone people's sin, but what I'm saying is that we need to be transparent in that a way that people can come in. And the love of God is so strong in our life that they feel natural to just open up. Even because there's some people that will open up to you and you will help them. You will tell them and you will tell them and you will tell them and you will tell them, and they'll still go back to that sin. But the Bible says that love is bears no wrong. Love bears no wrong. So even if you've helped someone and they still go back to that sin, it doesn't mean that we should give up on them. Sometimes, even if you don't speak to them personally, sometimes it's just when you're in your prayer closet, you're praying for them, you're still remembering them, you're still asking God to help them out, you're still asking God to guide them. But yeah, so I just feel like transparency is an issue in church. Not all churches, because there are some churches where they're very transparent, but I feel like transparency is still an issue in church. People don't want to admit and say that I've done wrong. People don't want to admit that they've come from a life of sin. People don't want to admit that they've come from a place where maybe they're ashamed of right now, but everything is for the glory of God. For you to come out of that situation, God receives the glory. The glory always goes back to God. And the word says that we overcome them by the word of our testimony and by the blood of the Lamb. But if you're not ready to open your mouth and to testify about the goodness of God, I don't understand how keeping your blessing to yourself is beneficial to anyone else.
Can I just add something very quickly to that? One of my favorite scriptures is in James. It says, confess your sins to one another that you may be healed. And one of the mentalities that really fails, particularly in the predominantly African church, is a mindset of microwave miracles, right? Microwave, I'm going to stick it in and I'm going to get some anointing oil and all my problems are magically going to go away. Can I just say, the reason why we go to church is because this transparency works over time. This healing, some of your healing might be gradual. It might be a process. You know, I'm just being honest with you. You get every person who has every position to lay hands on you, but there's some times where you need to walk out your healing. And being aware that accountability so that I can actually come through a process of healing in this area. And actually saying that out loud from the pulpit, saying that from every area, where I've seen literally spines just like this underneath my hand. I believe in God doing something and something just breaks. But just because it didn't happen instantly doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And so we have this relational side where this is why we come to church, where we are relationally, we're building. The reason we're growing for the word is so that we get freer and freer and freer and freer. So, it may be someone's like, oh, I'm struggling with this sin, and you confess that. And then they think, oh, because I confessed it, or, the pastor gave an altar call, oh, my life is going to get instantly better. It probably is going to get much worse. Like most of the time I see people doing that and situations get worse. And that's where this relational church life, you have people who walk with you, but it's like, oh, I messed up again. Okay, but why did you do that? Can we all admit that this was stupid? And then they're like, yes, Claudia, that was stupid. I'm like, okay, cool. Right, so can we not do this again? Okay, cool. And then it goes from, I was doing it every week, and now I'm doing it, it happened once a month. And then it's slowly, but the thing is that they always get free. And people who walk out their healing that way learn in the process how to keep free, rather than people who get it instantly and they have no clue how to maintain this kind of healing, which, yeah, is interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, it's awesome. Isaac, you wanted to say something earlier.
Yeah, just to go for what Claudia said there. I feel like a lot of people is like the Bible says, right? Come to me, all you who are heavy burden and laden, God will give you rest, and all that, paraphrasing, other stuff, right? So I feel like, you see, the like, oh, this is gonna. Well, okay. Anyway, so every time someone, like Claudia said, when you have an altar calling and all that stuff, right? Pastors finishes, bangs a top sermon and says, you want to receive Christ, and you see a whole crowd of people like crying and all that stuff, right? They want to come and they see Christ. They're like, my life from today is going to change. And then little Shouty or little Douglas or Jemima hits your phone and you're like, Lord, thank you. And you're gone, right? It's me personally, I feel like, I'm being serious, guys. Yeah. It's like, at that moment in time, is like Claudia says, some people's life, you're not going to change instantly. But I feel like when you have that moment, it's like everybody wants to be accountable for their sin, because sin is heavy. Mm-hmm. People don't understand. Sin is heavy. Imagine, oh, sorry, we're going to go there. Like, imagine all the people, like, for those who sleep, people like those who slept around, even like prostitutes or even drugs, all these conversations that people, especially predominantly African churches, avoid. Like, all of these people that come in that we cast judgment upon, their sins weighing them down. That's why you see them when they're sitting there, they're just like, why is everyone looking at it? Because you have this big thing on you, right? So when the altar calling is there, is God giving someone an opportunity to tell them, look at this person, look at that person. The altar calling is like the pastor always says, or the person that's preaching, whatever, says, if you want to give your life to Christ, you want to change your life today. The one thing that we see in people who are trying to change, the biggest thing we see is they come with pain, they come with hurt. You don't see someone that wants to change, that's already saved. The first thing that comes to my head, I see people there that are like, oh, altar calling, oh my days, what are you struggling with? That's the thing that comes to me. So with me is, like, when I talk about with other people and helping people, is I try to build a trust with them. Is, as you guys see me, I'm very open. I will walk into any store and I'll be like this, right? Don't blame me, God made me like this. So it's like everything I do, I try to bring them like, listen, yes, I am a Christian just like you. I have been in your position just like you. I have sinned just like you. So if you're going to an altar call, it's not for anyone to like to be judging, like, that's Isaac's third time this month, you know what I mean? That's a better altar calling. But no, it means like he is struggling with something. She is struggling with something. There's something not right there. Do you know what I mean? Like Antonia said, if the transparency is not there, because we have to understand, like, all these people that we speak to, people that we're mentoring, people that we help out, they like, as much as they will always deny, because they just have this go-to thing that they always deny, they want help. They need it, because if they never needed help, they'll never give you time a day. The fact that they give you time a day is because I think me and Claudia, we spoke about this, is like, they need help, but they want you to figure out how they need help. Without them telling you, like, okay, so how do you need help today? They'll be like, yes. I'm just like, boss, I only know you by name. Like, come on, I need a bit more. Give me answers. And then It's like you have to dig so deep, and they start going, nope, 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 nope. And then when you get it, they're like, maybe. And you're like, bro, I'm trying to help you, but you need to tell me what it is. And it's like, until you build that trust with them, it's like Antonio said, until you be that transparent with their point, they come to the point where like, okay, I've shoved this guy enough. Okay, randomly you just get a call or a text or something. So basically, Jimmy came over their house, mom and dad were upstairs, and we did something we shouldn't have done. But yeah, I thought I will let you know. And then they hang up. I'm like, if you just leave them, you're just like, bro. And then you text them like, okay, do you want to talk about it, or you just feel like telling me because I'm trying to finish watching my show, where you kind of just disturb me there? Do you know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, obviously I want to talk about it. And then they start to open up. So I mean, like, but everyone has a different character. They're all different. They all come from different things, right? But as I feel like with our jobs is that transparency, that first step comes from us. But I ain't gonna lie, if the cooperation is not there, like this is why I feel like when people say like church has failed me, or this has failed me, or that has failed me, is okay, the church has this image or have whatever, right? People are how they are. And I completely agree with Claudia. Some people think like they're walking on clouds and all that stuff. Like when you walk in, there has to be a whole red carpet rolled out. None of that. None of that. Sorry. First of all, we didn't even pay rent for that place. But anyway, we move. So with that being said, right? I genuinely believe. I say this from experience, because not just because my father is the pastor, but because he does this with all the young person. He gives you open door policy. Obviously, Jonathan can say that because we grew up in the same church. My today, he will call me. He'll be like, "Listen, whatever you're dealing with," you'll be like, "Oh, my daughter, oh, my child." He's there. He's in amongst the young people because he knows that this person needs help. He knows that this person needs help. So many things have changed. Like because when people are like, "Oh, Isaac, I don't know how to approach your dad." There's a sister in church now. That's PA best friend now. When she it's like when she was petrified of my father. I can't he's like, it's Pastor Daily, senior pastor. I'm like, bro, if you go talk to this guy, you will love him. I fully said that to her, and she was like, I don't know. And she was like, just combing the floor, minding her own. And I went, yo, dad, that guy wants to talk to you. He's like, oh, my daughter. She was like, oh, her soul left her. Because like a lot of people obviously like her expectations of how an African pastor is before you come to me, you have to crawl, you have to swim, you have to sanctify yourself. Jesus has to come and put his hand on you, then you can come and speak to me. Do you know what I mean? It's so much. But whereas, like Claudia said, he's a human being. He understands, like, listen, there is levels to this. There is like so many things. Like he's, like you said, spiritually mature. You're trying to gain understanding from someone that knows these things. Walk to them. And as in our position, like representing the church or whatever, we have to walk to them as well. We have to be like, listen, this is open door. We have to be open with everyone. But at the same time, my problem is it doesn't help when you hide behind the things that you want us to help you with. Yeah. You cannot point and say that person has failed me or this has failed me when you haven't fully tried. Yeah. Let's not even go biblical. Let's speak like just normal people, right? There's whatever people say. They said if you don't succeed, try and try again, right? You can have an expectation, you failed. Try a different way. But you fail once and you call it's a wrap. Jesus is fake. The Lord is just a killer, and everything else that doesn't exist. The Holy Spirit is just a myth. Boss, like you tried once. In fact, you didn't even try. You walked in, you saw something you didn't like. It's a wrap. But when you're there sleeping with Jemima and you're catching bad things and you want to come back and be like, so Isaac, I'm causing. It's like, no, a lot of things that happen in my life. And then I sit down and talk to him, be like, yo, nah, Isaac, you're different from all the church people. It's not that I'm different. It's that you never tried. Like, you never approached anybody with this. Like, see, if you hide it and they hold it in, like, this goes way right back to the beginning where we're talking about people are hurt. It's not just like, obviously, yes, there is hurt, there is pain, there is unbrokenness, but there's like so many things that has gathered that is causing you to do these things, but you don't want to place it in front of somebody that goes to church because you believe the church has failed you and that person is that way. Imagine someone saying that to someone like me. I very rarely, unless you speak to me, you'll know like, oh no, Isaac definitely goes to church, passion for Christ, all that fantastic stuff. But me, I'm not saying I put Christ second, like put Christ second or whatever. I'm Jesus 24/7. if I talk to you for 5 minutes, you're gonna know I'm a Christian. You're gonna know my pastor's kid. You're gonna know I love Jesus. That's just. I'm not saying this to big myself up. It's just like how I am. When I come to you, I'm like, okay, so what are you struggling with? And they're like, oh no, he's like, no, I don't want to talk about. Okay, when you want to talk about it, let me know. It's like, why? And then it's just like, if I am open to you, you will be open to me.
Yeah.
But the problem is, yeah, if you don't like my character, oh, he's like, it's too much. He's too much in my face. Da 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 da. No, it's fine. That's okay. When you're willing to try a different way, I'm still gonna be here. But the problem is like we are trying to like fit angles. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Isaac, some people might say that Isaac is too much, but this is genuine complaints that Klaus is too nice. I can't do it. So, okay, I may be too nice and my approach is just like, I'm like super laid back about things. That's fine. If that's not working for you, like you're saying, there are other people in that place where like cultivate relationship with where you can get that type of thing, which when they say that I'm like,
exactly,
you don't know me at all, ha 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 ha. But, if Isaac is too much for you, try somebody else, because the aim of this is not one of the things like people you're testing, when people like, oh, I'm just I'm testing them to see if they're actually all right and all this type of thing. Listen, we're tired. Before you we've had 4 hours calls with people, like you're making me jump through loopholes and and trust and all of this stuff, and then I'm like, okay, listen, fear is a spirit and trust is a choice. You're gonna have to make a decision just one of these times where you're just gonna jump out of the boat and let's see how we get on. And if it's not me, that's cool. I'm not your pastor. I'm not trying to be your pastor. Please don't make me that. Please, God have mercy. I'm just your big sister. That's it. But if it's not me, like find somebody who you're gonna do life with. And when I say do life with, you're literally gonna do life with them. Where in the same way that they're there to pray for you, you're gonna pray for them. And you're actually going to grow up and build in this way, because all about this is that we could glorify God more. You're trying to test your pastor, you're trying to test your leaders, all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, are you happy with the results? Yeah, they failed your test, but you set them up to fall. Like, you tripped them up, and then they go, well, we're tired. Yeah. We're tired. I mean, today alone, I've already done 4 hours. I'm just like, nothing's wrong.
Boy.
Just quickly touching back to what Isaac said about cooperation in the church. Now, sorry, I'm just going to quickly swift this from the church to the congregation. I also feel like as much as we can blame the church, I also feel like the congregation has a part to play in that. For example, if I go to church one day and then I greet Isaac, and Isaac doesn't greet me back, and then I say, oh, I'm not going to church. Can you imagine? I greeted him, he just ignored me. Like, really? Or I'll say, oh, I sent Sister Claudia a message asking her what time Bible started that, and she never replied. Can you imagine? I know she's seen my message and she never replied. Because of that, I'm never going to church. Because we do have people like that in the church. And then
church is the only place where you hear this kind of stuff as legitimate reasons why people left. You don't hear it at work. You don't hear it
exactly. Exactly. And I was about to say that. I was about to say, for example, if you go to work and your manager doesn't greet you or your colleague doesn't greet you, you're still clocking in tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? You're still gonna clock in. And in fact, you'll even make a way to go and discuss with them why they never greeted you back. But when it's in church, it's like, oh, they never greeted me. I don't understand what kind of mentality that is. I'm not going to church. I'm staying at home if that's the case. Like, come on, really?
I've legit never seen anybody. I've never met anybody like leave their job for something like absolutely minor. Like, yo, Johnny, I quit my job today. All of that. Is that why? Oh, because I didn't like the way they looked at me today, the way they greeted me. Like, I said hi to Sarah, and Sarah walked right by me. Jimmy didn't talk to me today, and I wanted to greet my manager, and he told me I'm busy and he didn't have time for me, and I had to book a meeting to see the CEO. No, I'm out. I'm leaving the company. But when it comes to Jesus, hey, anything passes. Anything.
And you know what's even crazy? It's what's even more crazy is like, you'll see people that are like, no, I've not been to church in 14, 15 years. And you're like, why? What's wrong? Oh, because I wanted to speak to my pastor and he told me he was busy. What's the meaning of that? Who does he think he is? So I've not been to church in 15 years because of that. Are you really going to stand before God on Judgment Day and tell him that you're not going to church because someone told you they were too busy 15 years ago? You know, it's crazy, but I feel like, sometimes we're so ready to blame it on the church, and yes, the church has its own fault, but sometimes even us as believers, or we as the congregation, there's so many of us who are just nitpicking, any little thing. And that's like, you wouldn't do it in your workplace, you wouldn't do it with anyone else, you wouldn't do it with your neighbors. So why do you think, because you don't see God physically, you think you can go in church and just behave anyhow? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't do it in work because you know why you're there. You don't do it in relationships because you know the purpose of those relationships. I just wonder sometimes if people have any clue why on earth they're attending church. Like, they actually don't know what the essence of church is. And then because of that, you're hitting out at everything because you actually, the Bible says, if you don't have vision, you lack restraint because you don't know why you're there. But as soon as you figure out why you're there, all of a sudden these things kind of take a bit of a backseat when you understand, okay, this is why I actually go to church. And I say to people, I've been mentoring for years, and all of them will go through a season. And I say to them at the beginning, you'll go through a period of testing, questioning your faith. And they're like, never. And I'm like, yes, you should. In fact, it's healthy for you to do that. I'm not saying that because I want people to leave their faith. I want you to know why on earth you're there. That's why. I don't want you to do it because your parents said it, but you yourself, for yourself, need to know why it is that you're there. And when you have good, healthy people around you, to actually have great discussion, to be like, let's break this down. Why on earth am I here? Like, what is the point of all of this type of thing? Because otherwise you'll get bogged down by all the other stuff rather than the actual focus of things, which should actually be Jesus. Just as a reminder to those people who don't know, that's why we go to church. But, just saying.
Absolutely. And with that, Claudia, I think we'll need to round off the conversation for today. It's been great input, and I think we'd agree with all that we've said. One of the main issues we have touched on is this aspect of this relationship and this transparency that needs to be there in our churches. And as I said, it's not just the local churches; it's the whole body of Christ. Each and every single one of us has the responsibility. And I think that with one of the reasons why we're doing this is to show young people that there's ways of resolving certain issues. And especially with the church, one of the things that we need to do is talk out about these things, talk out about taboo subjects, talk out about the lack of trust, lack of transparency in things. And will we get all the solutions? Unfortunately not. It's just the way the things are. But I think with all us four here, we're all, you could say leaders. We're all people who, we have people who, depend on us, people who will reach out to us. And I just want to encourage anyone who's watching to not be afraid to reach out to any of us. I encourage you to have conversations with your pastors, your youth leaders, even your parents, anyone who that is a practicing Christian, and try and be part of the solution rather than be part of the people who are just trying to continuously tear down things. But it's been a good conversation, guys, and we definitely do need to do more talking because there's a lot of discussions clearly we need to have about a wide array of topics. But good to have you guys here. Good to have you here, Claudia, Isaac, and Antonia, Jonathan. I know exactly said Isaac. It's all good. All good to have this conversation.
All the time.
Yeah, but guys, thanks for coming. I'm really glad to have you guys here.